So Callaway are back with another addition to their ever-growing Apex family. Today we're going to talk about the AI150, the new release, here with Luke Verney, product specialist for Callaway.
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
Okay, so yeah, new iron basically coming in to replace our Pro Series that we just had over the last 2 years. So it's fully forged, hollow body, 1020 steel, so it's going to still give you that super soft feel that you kind of want out of that. But this is also then still based around keeping that distance up as well. So this is kind of based around our players that are still looking for speed and for distance, but with a much smaller kind of package than something like an AI200, and definitely more spin consistency across the face than something of that large size. So yeah, kind of more aimed at someone maybe sub 10-ish in that kind of world, moving towards kind of better golfers in there as well. Okay,
so more of a player profile. I mean, yeah, you can see straight away looking down, sleeker profile. I mean, over the last couple of years, we've seen the Apex Pro, the CBMB.
Yep.
Since then, we've had the introduction of AI. So we've had AI300,
yep,
AI200,
yep,
and now AI150.
Correct.
Where is this? You mentioned about where it sits as a handicap, so
yep,
sub 10. Where's it sitting in that family?
Yeah, perfect. So at the moment, if you go off the bottom end of the range, so your best players, you know, MB, CB player, then you jump at the moment to kind of 200 where Pro's gone. So it's going straight in between kind of CB and the AI200 series iron. This, unlike previous years where usually we take what is this year the AI200 head, in previous years it's been just the standard Apex iron, and we usually shrink it down to create the Pro Series iron. The reason this is 150 is we're actually not doing that. We are taking what was the TCB kind of chassis and profile and actually building it off of that. So it's based actually off a more player's style head than any of the previous models have been. You can definitely see that and feel that when you're playing it. To that player that likes that look of the TCB that we've had years past, but maybe needs a bit more spin and a bit more speed, off the face, that's going to be a better iron for that type of player now.
Okay, so replacement for Pro.
Yep.
That TCB kind of iron. Okay, so looks fantastic. In terms of, before we go into the looks and the sounds and the feel and everything, we're going to hit some shots in a minute. What about comboing? Because this is obviously a big thing in the world of in the golfing world now. Being able to combo irons, you see this more and more with manufacturers bringing out not just one iron but multiple irons that you might go into a player's iron at the bottom, but then something with a little bit more forgiveness at the top. Where would you be sitting this with a combo? So
for me with this iron, what's really good, what we do in design is actually when you move up out of, let's say, the 7 iron, so towards the long irons, we actually change the face design. So we have what's called 455 faced cup, which is basically a way of generating more ball speed across the face and generates a bit more launch. It's actually the face we originally had back in something like Paradigm, basically. Okay. We now still use AI face, so variable depth as part of that, but we combine it with that technology in the long irons.
Yeah.
Gives you more launch, more speed at that kind of lower loft, which most players need.
Yeah.
Then as you drop down from 7, we go into what's called 17-4, which is just kind of standard AI face that we're putting in there that keeps the spin up. Now, the whole idea of that is you shouldn't, in theory, need to blend this set too much. You should still have the forgiveness in your long irons and the launch. And as you drop down, you should get even more spin consistency as you go towards your lower irons. Now, where I would see potentially players blending this into their current sets, someone like myself, so someone kind of CB-MB split at the moment, you could definitely put this in as a 4 iron or as a 3 iron at the top of the set. Something that's got that little bit more forgiveness, a little bit more speed. So John Rahm actually did that with our Pro when we released that previously. So he actually put in the 4 iron, more based around, not because he needs the forgiveness of that, which it would give him, but more about the launch and actually getting that flight away. So it's definitely an iron I would see that type of player putting in. In terms of the 200, I don't see that much blending going back that way, in my opinion, just because this is definitely more towards a player, whereas the 200 is based around the aspirational player.
Sits in its own world. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And obviously, we're filming this a week before the Open. So Open synonymous with links golf, windy conditions. Would you see a need to be putting in a long iron in the bag, considering you might need to actually flight it down a little bit?
Well, and again, we use kind of CG placement and progression on that within the lofts. So I still think a better player, and the way this head's been designed with a TCB chassis, a better player should be able to control launch and loft with this head. So in theory, you could still definitely put in a free iron for a better player, then still control flight, but just keep that speed up. Something, you know, hollow body's great at keeping speed up out of the rough and things like that, which, you know, when you are a little bit off course and you need a bit of help in that world, it's great, but also it keeps speed up off the tee. So in terms of tee clubs where you're trying to flight them with some more speed through the wind, that would be a good option for that type of player as well. So you might see a few. I don't know, to be honest, at the moment, if they're going to be in the bags for those players, but you know, we had some last year. AI smoke driving irons were in the bag for some of those players, tour issues. So it does happen. Like players of a good standard still want that forgiveness story. Exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. And for those watching for the first time, when it comes to a Callaway product, they can now see this story, and they walk into our store and they can see it on the rack. The 300, the 200, the 150. It tells a really good story.
Yeah.
Who are the other irons aimed at? So that 200 and the 300, you mentioned about this being sub 10. Does that mean if you're 11, you must go 200?
No, of course not. I think ball striking is a big part of that. This is definitely aimed at someone that maybe strikes the ball slightly better than someone of a 200 world. Now, I've still had golfers of a 6-7 handicap going into the 200 here, just if they need that extra bit of punch and extra bit of launch out of the iron. That iron's got a bigger profile as well. So again, if you're someone that wants a bit more confidence behind the golf ball, 200 is a great route on that. So kind of bridging up from there. I would say, look, it's still going to apply. It's still a fully forged front and back body, so it still feels great, similar to this iron, but just with a bigger package. And then again, one more than that, you go to the 300, it's then the largest, most offset package. So if you're someone that wants a forged iron that maybe needs maximum forgiveness, you know, across the face, something like an AI 300 is just going to give you that performance as consistently as possible for that player. 200 is a really good kind of jack of all trades. It can do the higher handicaps and the lower handicaps. This is definitely more towards the bottom end, and then 300 definitely covers off the players that either need maximum forgiveness or that top end of the handicap range that want the good feel.
The game improver.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. So a little bit for everybody. Yep. I'm probably, the way I'm playing, probably more aimed at that 300, but we're going to give this a go. So let's jump in and we'll hit some shots.
Cool.
Okay, so we're in the Hitson Bay at Callaway. This is your headquarters.
Yep. Yeah, European Performance Centre. Yeah.
Incredible facility. Fantastic. A bit daunting for me.
It's all right.
I don't hit too many. Put a camera over there, which I need to be wary of. The first look at the club. So putting it behind the ball, as I said earlier, it's a lot thinner on that top edge. So something that I actually quite like. Although I need that forgiveness in a golf club, I don't like looking down on something that's too chunky. So straight away, looking down on that's fantastic. The notable thing, though, is the finish on it. Yep. So usually you're used to seeing a club that's fully satin or fully chrome. It's got a shine to it. This is actually a bit of both. Yeah, so we've got a polish on there and then a kind of satin back portion on there. I think, you know, we were speaking a little bit earlier when you first saw it, when you first walked in, is that how it almost blends some of those sets and that kind of Callaway themed together. We've got the satin finish in the AI200. If you look at like some of the MBs the guys are using on tour, or even the Elite iron, that's that kind of polished finish. So it's blending all that together quite nicely as you're moving down away from the 200s towards the better players' irons now. Yeah, that was the thing that immediately struck me off camera, is when you see them all together from 300 through, even through to Elite, like you say, it's got that story, and it's like a colour story. The way it's fantastic the way they set up. So yeah, really like that. And as I said, more importantly, the way it frames the golf ball, very good. So let's hit a few.
Yeah, no problems there, is there?
No, I would say maybe a tad heavy, but looking at the result,
pretty happy with it.
Performed. Yeah, that felt nice. Nice launch, that.
Yeah, so feel-wise, obviously, this is 1020 steel, so we make our MBs and CBs out of the same type of steel as this. And actually most major brands, their kind of forge-based irons are built around 1020. Obviously Mizuno are slightly different. They throw in some extra bits and bobs. But yeah, that's basically, if you're a player that likes a solid feeling iron, that is the starting point. That's the foundations that every brand will build a good iron off of. Yeah. You know, no matter where you are in the world. So it should feel solid.
What would you expect to see as a launch on this?
Definitely higher than something of a kind of standard iron at this world. It's because of the hollow body and because of the design of where the center of gravity sits and things like that. We are trying to generate some launch for that player. Again, with the face designs as well in there. So the big story for us with this against maybe Pro last time is the AI face in there. That tech is really trying to keep spin consistent.
Yeah.
So regardless on shape, regardless on flight, we want to get the spin in a good window, because for the player that's going to use this, when they start to manipulate that ball flight a little bit more, they want to see the spin stay a bit more solid if they can do.
So a little bit low for me there.
Yeah.
But that's going to be more me than the
Again, a bit of ball as well, right?
A better strike, bit of a push, but that's probably more the launch I'd expect to see. Spins up a little bit as well.
Yep.
And carry on that.
Yeah, 180.4.
So yeah, you can see that first one didn't quite catch it. I would usually say I'm around about that 165, 170 with 7-iron, and that's kind of comfortable. So that's quite a jump.
Yep.
But yeah, I wouldn't be saying that's a negative at all. That's just a rubbish swing.
You're speaking to kind of distances there. We kind of coined this as our kind of fastest player's iron. So it's supposed to have the highest ball speeds relative to the player that would play that club.
Sure.
Hence why some players will jump into it in the long irons to keep that speed up and to keep the distance up.
Yep.
I hate to think what John Rahm's ball speed is in his 4-iron in something like this, but I bet it's in the high 150s to nearly 160.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah.
I mean, even there, that was a dreadful strike. And it's kind of gone out carry-wise where I would expect to be hitting my current 7-iron.
And even on that heavier kind of strike you have to it, the launch staying up is the key thing there. It's trying to keep the ball in the right window.
Yeah.
And for us, we do so many things in here. And something I do say to players is I see numbers constantly every day, every shot. And when we did introduce the original AI faces from AI Smoke, where we really ramped that up, that kind of technology, definitely saw a jump on that. And then where we've started to release new irons, I'm starting to see that in the numbers as well.
Yeah.
It's just getting the flight to a better window on average. And after a fitting, initially first 5 shots, sometimes players don't see a huge bunch, but once we've hit 30, 50 shots against their iron, where the averages start to show, where the face can start to do its work, the numbers really do really well. So it's one of those from a fitting world. It's such a joy to work with from a tech point of view.
Yeah, that felt more like it.
Yeah, nice strike.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that. So yeah, sticking on that fitting theme then, talk to me about shaft options. So you've got a new iron release, is there anything new in that fitting mold?
So in terms of the standard steels, I guess you would say, if they were on the shelf, you're going to have an option of the stock shaft being a dynamic gold mid 115. We actually will have that in regular stiff and extra stiff for the kind of top speeds. In terms of the graphite world, it's going to be an MMT. I think it's 80 and 90 grams, 80 being the regular, 90 being the stiff. They're the shafts they're putting in. Those are standard, associated to the player that's it's aimed at. In the fitting world, you're going to be able to pretty much go into anything that your fitters should have in the bay from a Callaway perspective. So here we're in the motor shaft, because that probably works with you quite nicely. Again, you can go Project X, you can go True Temper in dynamic gold, anything. Like, it's still going to work in that shaft, so in that head, sorry.
Perfect.
Yeah, because we don't want to take
choice.
it away. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, and then obviously one of the big talking points you mentioned earlier was the longer irons, that additional technology to get the ball up. We've actually got a long iron there, so I'll hit one more with this and then we'll give that a test.
Yeah, jump that out. Cool.
So that last shot, more like it out the middle. I mean, you really feel a difference when you hit it out the middle. It's absolutely flush. I guess for me, at the moment, because of my ability, I'm not playing an awful lot of golf necessarily to justify jumping into A150 yet.
Yeah.
From maybe the 200, which might offer me a little bit more forgiveness.
And we will see that with players. And I always say to people as well, in the fitting world, the question I'd be asking you on this aspect would be, where's your game going? Are you going to play more golf? Are you playing less golf? Because that's really important then in the head decision you make.
Absolutely.
If you're working with a coach, you're improving on tendencies, and you're maybe, let's say, a 200 player right now, definitely don't discount that iron, because if you're working on your game to get sub 10 and you're in that world, you're a decent ball striker, that's an iron that you should probably be going into, and then taking it into account in your fittings as to what that would come out with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was where I was going to be going with that, is actually where I am as of today, but where I want to be maybe in 6 months' time. There's no way I want to take a backward step to then have to take a forward step later on. I know that when that dropped off to 160, 165, that's on me. So and I'm going to get that whatever club I pick up. What I really liked there was the performance out of the good strike, and even that 7, 8 out of 10 strike. But it's making that more consistent. And then you can feel the benefits of the AI, right?
So this is obviously now face cup, so really designed to give a little bit more launch, a little bit more kind of pop. You won't really feel a difference as well. That's what I noticed. I actually blended into a 4 iron in my set with Pro originally. I'll probably do the same thing with this going forward. It just gives you that extra bit of pop in terms of launch from a lower loft, basically.
Okay. I've got the pushes going on, but that, again, just from a feel perspective, felt really good. One problem that I tend to have with the long irons is, okay, accuracy is one thing, but getting that ball nice and high, it's getting that stopping power on the green. So descent angle there, 49 degrees, at least I know if I do get that online, it's coming in and stopping. Yeah,
exactly right. I think, if you can, on a slight open push, so it's going to give you a bit more loft, I'll be fair to club dynamics, but if it's still going to give you that on miss strikes is the key thing there, right? And that's what I noticed. The reason I went to the Pro was also, once I'm getting, in my world, 220, 230, I need a bit more help. I don't need the accuracy there. I just want, can I just get that ball up and going? Which most players need that would be in this type of iron. They just want to get more consistency to the number rather than consistency in terms of dispersion. Let's get you down range better at 220, 210, right?
Yeah. Like that.
Yeah, so that's launched at 16, isn't it? Which is, from that loft, really solid.
Yeah. That was better struck than the last one. Even there, still coming in at 45. I'd be happy with that. If I know that I'm 200 to 210 away and I'm able to hold a green, that is what I'm looking for. I don't want to hit what I'm currently doing, which is just chasing through.
Yeah, sure.
Good, that felt really nice. It sounds good as well. You kind of look at the chrome on top and instantly, like, you can hit some of these irons, maybe like an Elite, and you can hear it. It's almost a little bit tingy. This actually sounds quite muted.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely aiming for that with the material use, right?
Yeah.
Again, launched at 17, so from a 5 iron to get 17 degrees of launch, again, from where we're judging 20 degrees, is that your average 70 in that world? So to be getting 17 off of 5 is really solid going, and for me as a fitter, when we're working off of these types of irons, obviously a 7 iron world, if I can get someone that launch good in a 7 iron, I know that the face cup is going to take care of the rest of it in the long irons, which we're seeing here for you, really. Very good.
I mean, I've had a couple of really decent strikes in, albeit one's push, one okay, and they're all around that ballpark. So I like the consistency in this. And again, that's if I was buying a new set of irons, I'd be buying them at the moment for the consistency in the long irons. Putting the ball on the green from 150 yards isn't the issue.
Exactly.
Making sure that I don't lose balls from 200 or 100%. Putting it myself into too much danger. It's going to be left, but and that strike felt fantastic. Lovely off the face. Okay, we'll wrap it up with one more. Ooh. Okay, that was really out the toe.
Still launched at 16.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like horrific at the time. It was definite feedback. You can see the ball strike on.
Which again is, I think, the key thing to say to someone on that point is the head still is trying to give you that, right? So we're not necessarily in the 200 world where we're just trying to get flight. We're trying to give the player feedback. It's aimed at that player that wants to know, right, have I hit it? So have I hit it heel? But not necessarily be overly punished downrange, but still wants the feedback, hence the 1020 hollow body forward design. Obviously, TCB chassis built up into this head, you should get better turf interaction. And then on top of that, the face design itself is still an AI 10x face. It's worth noting, and it's kind of a snippet that I don't think too many people know about with what 10x face is. That's actually to do with control points. So as a brand, we will measure and we change depth. Every time we change that depth slightly, we call it a control point. Now we had let's say in the driver in AI Smoke, we had about 1,500 control points on that face, on the AI Smart face. What 10x is 10 times the amount of control points. So you're taking what was 1,500 in our driver, in the Elite Series driver, it's actually over 20,000 control points now. So it's just ramped up. We've taken that computer and gone, right, how far can we take it? We've taken that kind of technology idea through the woods and put it into irons as well. So this is still a 10x.
It's crazy because it's always going to keep developing as well.
Exactly right. And the more information we take in, the more we do every year, it will just gradually improve itself, plus then whatever we can work on in an R&D world from materials and things like that. So we have that technology in here paired up into 455 face cup and 17-4 face in the lower iron. So you're basically putting every bit of tech we can do without sacrificing feedback and feel. So it's a very, very good iron for that player that wants maximum technology with maximum feel in that lower handicap range is what I would kind of aim it towards. So
I mean, what I'm taking from that with the AI Smart Face then, so it's working more laterally. So where if I fat it, it's not going to...
Exactly, you'll lose speed.
It's not going to be. It's going to lose speed. We saw that with the 7 iron. I fatted a couple. It dropped from 180 down to 165. That's going to happen with any iron. But what I'm taking from that is that one as an example. I've hit it out the toe. So it's just a lateral miss, and the drop off from the previous one is 4 yards, 5 yards.
Exactly, which in a 5 iron as well. You think usually you're going to be punished more lower the loft. In that world, it's going to really help keep consistency downrange. Now, what it won't do is make it feel great. That won't happen because it's going to...
I said it straight away. I knew I hit it out the toe. I mean, that's insane. I would have expected to look up there and seen that maybe 190.
Exactly. And it's almost, as I say, the AI technology in there is going, right, I've been struck off the toe. From a numbers basis, what do I need that ball to do to get it better? So it knows toe generally in a fitting world in a strike location is usually lower launch, lower spin, tends to go a bit left. So what the AI face is doing there is going, right, I've been struck out the toe, let's try and keep the launch as high as I can do, try and keep spin as high as I can do, and then try and stabilize the flight with the face design, which is why, in theory, you shouldn't lose as much downrange. Obviously, it's not a miracle worker, and we will still lose some, but as you said, to lose 5 yards of carry
1 degree launch
difference.
Less than the previous one.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still a 44 degree land angle, 93 feet of peak height. It's crazy, really. The instant feedback I got was, that shot's not great. And I look on there and the results are telling me, well, I haven't lost anything.
Exactly, and that's the aim. That's the full aim of the kind of AI story in our range.
Perfect. Okay, right, one more. Let's see if I can actually hit the green. Okay, much better strike. Huge improvement on the last strike and a 6 yard gain.
It's one of those where we don't want a huge front to back jump as well. So you've struck that slightly better, but we want to keep things in the same world if we can do, right?
Love that.
We're aiming for a reduction of jump shots as well, right? So hollow body, traditionally, something like an AI200, I actually had this with Andy Murray, right? So Andy Murray came in here, we'd done him a set of AI200s, and he's come in and just said, love them, bit jumpy out of the rough because they're hollow head, and he's improving rapidly because he's basically having like 3 lessons a week or something. So we're kind of looking at this type of head because it's going to stop as much of the jump out of the rough, but still give him that forgiveness that he's looking for. So that's a good example for a player that's come down. He's probably hovering around a 4 handicap, 5 handicap at the moment, but that's a rapid decrease from maybe like 10 when we fit him originally. So it's a good example there in terms of what that club setup can do for a player.
Excellent. So there we go, guys. That is my insight into the new AI150, the Apex model from Callaway. Big thank you to Luke.
Right.
Fantastic golf club. I mean, the look of it's brilliant. The feel when I actually hit one out the middle is even better. And it's going to be available for you to try soon in a free fitting at AF Golf Store. Thanks again for watching, guys. Make sure you hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.